pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening and welcome to the Bryan Board of Public Affairs meeting for August 4th, 2015. First item on our agenda is to approve the minutes of the following meetings: July 20th, 2015 joint special meeting, as well as the July 21st, 2015 regular meeting.
They look okay to me, so I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Al?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Bonnie?
Yes.
Karen? Yes. Dick?
Yes.
Number 2, a hearing of public concerns. Seeing none, we'll move on. Number 3, a resolution to authorize change order number 2 and final for the project known as 2015 Water Main and Sanitary Sewer Extension on Brudicardi Way from North Main Street to the city limits.
Okay, this would be resolution number 27, 2015, a resolution authorizing the clerk treasurer to issue change order number 2 and final for the project known as 2015 Water Main and Sanitary Sewer Extension on Brudicardi Way from North Main Street to the city limits. This will be the final and only change order for this project and encompasses several deducts and adders that didn't really affect over contractual price. As a result, Resolution 23, change order 1, would be no increase in utilities. Hang on a minute here. Reading my wrong note. Sorry, guys. Okay, let me back up here. So I did talk to the city engineer about this. The sewer work is complete out there, 100%. When I sent my summary to you folks, at the time we still had to turn the fire hydrants 180 degrees. Bacterial testing was done, pressure testing was complete. Since then, all that is complete today. So the project is completed as it stands. It's shovel ready. So this change order just encompasses all of those things. And again, it's a housekeeping thing. It reflects the overall price, which we reflected in our original resolution.
So we can now market the industrial park as shovel ready?
We are shovel ready.
Excellent. Any other questions or comments? I'll entertain a motion.
So,
Second.
Al?
yes.
Dick?
Yes.
Bonnie?
Yes.
Karen? Yes. Jim?
Yes.
Number 4, a resolution to authorize change order number 1 for the project known as improvements to the 100 and 200 blocks of North Allen Street.
Okay, this will be resolution number 28, 2015, a resolution authorizing the clerk treasurer to issue change order number 1 for the project known as improvements to the 100 and 200 blocks of North Allen Street. This is the only change order for the project. It does encompass about $535.27 increase in the water department's contribution to the project. They're going through the project list. There was some minor change in price and quantities and PVC piping on the 4-inch side, some couplings, and a valve assembly, I believe. So there was some adders and some deducts, but overall we had a little bit of a $500-some adder. Again, I did speak with Bryan Whelan. This is the only change order for this project, so this will be finalized after tonight with you folks as well. Our engineering staff did go through the materials list and double check and verify that the numbers made sense. So what we're presenting to you is the only change order for this project.
And it was passed last night at council?
Yes.
Okay.
It's very good. It's not very much as far as the amount
Big
of
project
changes
like
for a
that.
big project. Yes, perfect. I move we accept the resolution, pass the resolution.
I'll second.
Karen?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Bonnie?
Yes.
Al?
Yeah.
Dick?
Yes.
Number 5 then is an update and discussion on the GT2 repair.
Okay, so I anticipate this will take the majority of the meeting. So as you know, the rotor for the GT2 unit came back several weeks back, and we had crews on site the last 2 weeks installing the rotor and attempting to put it back together. They used some lead tape to help gauge the distance between the blades of the rotor and the actual casing wall. What we ran into is some complications, and we need to discuss some of these. So right off the bat, we're going to talk about, we reconditioned the rotor itself, which is perfectly round at factory OEM specs. So you basically have a brand new rotor sitting there. That's the piece with the blades on it. And what we found is the age of our case where that sits in, 2 shells, top and bottom, has a little bit of deflection. When I say deflection, it's not completely truly round anymore. It's got a little bit of a oval, if you want to call it that. And when I say little bit, you're talking like 20 thousandths of an inch. So I asked Tim, I said, hey, while we're working on this last week, get me something as a visual representation that can sort of call out what we're talking about. So Tim actually found shimming that they use at the hydro plant to shim the turbines down there. And this is a shim. This is 4 thousandths of an inch shim. Okay? So together, a couple of these put together is the difference of it being truly round. So what happens is you have the potential of the blades themselves on the turbine, on the rotor, touching the sidewalls. Okay? And we are, like I said, ours are sitting about 80 thousandths of an inch. Factory specs 125 thousandths of an inch.
120, yeah.
So we're 20 thousandths off. So the choice is you true that up in the case or you true that up on the rotor itself. You really don't want to mess with the case because of the age of it and these other things that we have learned. So the choice was to send the rotor back to Sulzer to have the particular sections of the rotor that were in contact or within they were not in tolerance, they have a tip ground. So there are 3 rows total, or 4 total?
All 4 turbine rows are going to be tip ground, and 1 compressor row 6.
Will be tip ground. Okay. So that's issue 1. So we got to have it tip ground to make sure that our tolerances meet factory specs. And realize we're looking at the tolerances overall because once you spin that, you start having the combustion in those. The heat will cause those blades to expand a little bit, they'll move, as well as the case. And there's a point where a case and blades are at equal temperature, but until that happens, you have some creepage on the inside before they out. So we got that issue we want to talk about. So the tip grinding is going to happen. The casing measurements, Sulzer took casing measurements all through the case based on the clock. Okay, so if you think of 12 o'clock being the top of the case and 6 o'clock being the bottom of the case, they went every hour and just about every half-hour increment. So when they true this rotor up, it's truly, that didn't make sense, it's really to match that case. Okay. Another issue we ran into is, if you remember, Matt talked about combustion baskets being sent off. We had a spare set. We thought they were a spare set at the power plant because the set of combustion baskets that were pulling out of the turbine itself were shot. Okay. Matt had those sent off, and part of that being sent off, we request a X-ray of them as well as some metallurgical testing to make sure they are truly where they need to be. And what we found is that was not a spare set. That was a used set that was put back on the shelf downstairs at the plant that nobody even knew about. In fact, if I can tip the scale, I was talking to Dick earlier, and Dick said he remembers working with one of our engineers years ago that discussed the set and thought they were new as well. So what we had on the table at that time is you have a set of combustion baskets that after they tested them and x-rayed them, they were not moving air at the same rate, and they had a lot of microfractures and blow-throughs. And their recommendation was, you shouldn't be using these because they need to be re-drilled so they flow the same rate. And the honeycomb portion with the fins need to be tuned so that you don't have hot spots in your turbine. It doesn't make sense doing it to these right now because the upper half of these baskets are shot. So working with Sulzer at the time, Sulzer has a lot of these customers that use these 191 turbines, and they felt that they may be able to entice one of their other customers. And when I say customers, we're talking guys, they're groups that have 10, 15, 20 of these units running all the time, to get a spare set of theirs. And by spare, they have new ones. We figured the price at the time to be $40,000 to $50,000. Nobody was willing to cough up a brand new set. Fortunately, they were able to secure a partially used set, which they can take and fabricate our honeycombs and fins on the bottom back into it so that they can tune it and we get a completely refurbished set back home. So it made sense. So that was another issue we had to bring into this as a potential change order coming your way. So you have dollars to true up, to trim the blades. We have combustion baskets that had to be rebuilt to match what we're doing. So that's issue number 2. Issue 3, we want to discuss some what they call field service out of scope work. Field scope out of service work is all the extra stuff that the field crews, service crews would have had to perform on the generator's casing that was a little bit warped, and anything else around that. Tim was out there with them the whole time, monitored their progress as well as their hours, and actually came in and compared timesheets and was talking about their timesheets for some of the work they had to do. Now realize, to help that case, these crews, they're pretty skilled. They actually bolted the case back together without the rotor in it to help true it back up, welded bracing onto it to help keep it true, and then started gauging and taking measurements. So those things are outside the scope of what we would have normally asked them to do, and that we're going to build back into this. On top of that, we realize when they bring the rotor back home again, they're going to have to do some true-up work again. And then when it's all done and said, some of that bracing gets cut back off because it's not needed. It's needed today for structural integrity to keep it true, but once we bolt it and get everything shimmed the way it's supposed to, it will stay. Okay, so we have an adder fee coming on that. And then the last thing, that at first that took me back, but it did make sense, the fuel nozzles that blow the fuel into the units, we had sent those off to be checked because, again, you're talking your combustion baskets and all the things that are relevant to combustion. We should have the nozzles looked at to make sure that there's something not going on with those. We were good on those. The nozzles actually passed a lot of the testing they did. They had to retune them a little bit, and they test them and tune them, as I would call it tuning, I'm sure there's another technical term for it, to run dual fuels. So they test them with diesel fuel, and they check the spray pattern and the efficiency of it, and they also run natural gas through them at their facility. And when they tune those to meet EPA specifications today, for particulate matter on combustion. So we know when they come back, they're going to meet EPA requirements for clean burning. They are matched to the baskets, and they're matched to the case. So realistically, the whole inside of that is a match set coming back home. Pricing-wise, we're looking at near about $300,000 change order coming, and which is the next thing on the agenda. We would anticipate probably 2 weeks to maybe, if we get lucky, sooner to get it back, probably 2 weeks to 3 weeks for them to do this extra work and bring it back home. There is a hiccup nuance on this. I did contact the board chair and the vice chair last week because time is sort of critical on this. We wanted to be able to hit any kind of fall peaks that we would have encountered because, again, we're against the clock when it comes to the 2016 transmission savings. So what we save this year running really is reflected in next year's bill. And we're feeling that pinch today on our power bills as a city because we missed the peak last year. So we went ahead with the board chair and vice chair, and another board member happened to come in later in the week, and we talked with that board member as well. So we had sort of a consensus on the board that yes, this is one of those things we need to get fixed. So we did ship it out. The issue we had, and when Matt called me last night, I was like, "Are you kidding me?" The Sulzer called us and said, "We have an issue. When the the rotor arrived, the shipping company, some of the cribbing slipped on it, and it created a wear on one of the bearings. So there's damage to the rotor when it got home in Houston." Now, the good thing on our side is Sulzer stepped up to the plate. And part of the process was they set the shipping up, they work with the shipping company, they're going after the shipping company. And they told us, because what we're doing with you guys and what you guys are dealing with as a municipality, you're not going to eat the cost on this. That shipping company is going to take care of it. In fact, it's going to have to be, the bearings are going to have to be ground and taken care of. As Matt was explaining to me, when you grind a flat spot out or a wear spot, it changes the center on the blade, it's on the turbine, on the rotor itself. So it'll have to be put into the They're pit and spun at full RPMs, so that's pretty expensive. Now, on our side, it's a good thing because we were looking at having to do that anyways. So we saved a little bit of money on a misfortunate thing. It kind of worked in our favor on this one.
Something good comes out of something bad.
Yeah, there was a silver lining a little bit on this. But again, we still anticipate the change order that we're going to bring to you, as I included the quote in the board packet to you folks, to be almost $300,000. You know, our goal is to get this thing knocked out and done for that, or even would be better on my end if we came back and said, hey, change order number 3 is a deduct, and get some money back. But those are the things we have in place. Now, if you remember back on the October 21st, 2014 meeting, when we first brought to you guys that, hey, this thing's broke, we need to get it taken care of, we had it bore scoped, here's where the savings on this particular unit fall. At that time, I had Matt go from 2009 to 2014, so nothing since 2014. The transmission savings on that unit alone has been $1,999,516. So that's what it saves on our transmission part of our bill over that, excuse me, over that time frame. Now, if you remember, we've been in the capacity markets for the last, 10 years or so. We are soon to segue out of that capacity market because that's changing. So we're going to use those units in a different way. But in the capacity markets, that particular unit, that Westinghouse number 2, has saved or helped us a revenue stream of $2.5 million since 2009 to 14. Now today we do know that our transmission peak is still what it is. Today we're seeing about $1.5 million extra total for the year in our power bills because we blew the transmission peak last year. I mean, we completely missed it, 0 credit. That unit at 18 megawatts, when we're running at full capacity with it, we usually see about a $500,000 to $600,000 transmission save for the following year. Simple math tells you we spent almost $2 million to repair this thing. Within 4 years, it's going to pay itself back off. If we happen to get into a generation run where power prices have went up and we can run for profit then to get that, it will definitely pay itself off sooner. If you guys remember, during that polar vortex, we ran for 4 hours outside of our capacity run. So we had capacity run was required for a 2-hour period. And outside of that, Matt and I negotiated with AMP and said, put it on the grid. And we made about $450,000 in that 3-hour run outside of that. So the potential to make the revenue stream take care of this is there. It's not, we're not playing cards, we're not playing roulette, it's not a gamble, we know these are there. Unfortunately, the pricing is what it is. Even if it was $3 million, I still would not be panicked in the sense of, oh my gosh, it's $3 million, because the unit still pays itself off in about a 5-year period. We just extend the period of payoff. Utility world, we all, board members understand, and the community doesn't necessarily know this, that we look at a 10-year payback period. We have a little longer payback period in the municipal world. So we are still within, well within, where my comfort zone is. Like I said, other than that, knock on wood, we keep going. So I asked Matt and Tim Moses, our supervisor, field supervisor, and Tim has been out there a lot. Matt had some family stuff he was dealing with last week, so Tim really led the charge for us. So I asked them to come in to field any questions the board may have. We try to anticipate any questions that the community may ask, as well as board members. We realize this is a lot of money. I was telling Tim and Matt, and I even talked to Dick about it a little bit. I said, we've sort of taken it on the chin the last 2 years because we've carried a higher fund balance in the electric department than what we traditionally have over a 20-year period. And we've always said this is the rainy day fund in case something catastrophic happens. And we realized that we were on that edge of maybe being on the higher side of where we want to be. But that's allowed us to take care of business. I mean, effectively, we should be sitting around $7.5 million, maybe $8 million fund balance by the end of this year. And last year we had 10.5. That $2 million difference took care of this. So, and the choice is, and I've heard this, I've received phone calls, the choice is, well, you should give us a reduction in X so that that fund balance is not there. Well, that reduction in X would have been nice, but then I'm coming after you in 2 years to go, I need the $2 million now back to pay for this. So it's a balancing act. It really, truly is a balancing act. So again, I'll turn this over to board, and if you got questions for Tim, Matt, they're gonna fire away, myself, fire away. I want some good discussion on this.
If I understand from the meeting we had the other day, we're still saving $1 million over what we would have if we had shipped the entire unit originally, correct?
Yeah, if you know, in the real world, like Pickla did, they shipped the thermo case, everything down. They did a frame 5 3 years ago, about $3.5 million. You gotta realize, a group like Sulzer, they do probably 10 of these 191s a year, but a lot of times the people they're dealing with are larger than a municipality, and they run these units until they fail. Because for them, and I'll give you an example of some of the names, DuPont. You know, they use these units not just for generating power for the DuPont factories, they use it for moving air, for moving water, for moving sludge, for compressing. For those guys, they will run them until they explode. And then they open a checkbook and say, here's a couple $1 million, go fix it. So when we're dealing with Sulzer, they're used to putting it to exactly the factory spec. So it's a brand new baby coming home, and we're going, time out, you know, we don't have the unlimited checkbook. And they have done a phenomenal job of working with us on that.
Yeah, they're a very good crew, very professional. I'm really impressed with the Sulzer crew that was up here at the site. So much better than the Aethys crew. So I'm real happy with them. So,
well, from day one, I've been for the project, because I know it has to be fixed, and I know it's going to save us some money down the road. It'll pay for itself. And I think the life expectancy, I'm thinking about 25, 30 years.
yeah, absolutely.
So when you think of what we're spending today, if we spread it, advertise it over the years, it's not very much money.
Do they expect that shipping damage is going to have any effect on the return date on the rotor?
Yeah, it's going to push it out.
Yeah.
I mean, what they're doing right now, just got off the phone with Sulzer a little bit ago. One bearing journal, and the bearing journal is on the ends of the shaft, and they're, I don't know, they're about 18-inch polished area where the bearing is supported. It got marred, basically, because the pedestal is loose. And they're just going to grind that. They're not going to machine it, right? They're just going to grind it, put a new polish on there. And then there's also time, we just shipped the bearings back because the bearing has to match that.
Yeah.
So we just had new bearings rebuilt. They're going to have to redo that one bearing because it's got to be, to fit that journal. So that's going to slow us down a little bit. So
A little bit?
yeah.
Okay.
So, but they're pulling machines out of the way, and they're concentrating on ours. They're putting all their efforts on it. They're doing an excellent job, I think, from what they got to do. So they're concentrating on us. So.
Just for the board, when all of this process started, Matt and his team actually dove into the Westinghouse literature for the Westinghouse #1, because we had that rebuilt back in the early 2000s, and there was really nothing that was alarming in the sense of these are pitfalls we ran into and here's our documentation. And I'm not saying the documentation was great, I'm not saying it was poor. What we have is what we have. We as a group probably would not have anticipated this kind of stuff. This is the first major turbine repair this team's been through. I think they're handling it very well with some of the serious road potholes we've encountered. For the future, and Matt and I talked about this, we've already started this several months back. We bought Go Cams to video this thing being put back together. Matt and his team are documenting everything. I mean, it's already got a 3-ring binder put together for the future. It's not going to help us today. It's not going to help us in 10 years. But that team that's here to do the next rebuild 25 years from now should be able to pull it out and go, wow, they ran into this. Maybe we should be aware of this. So, I mean, there is some good coming out of this. I mean, it sounds tough that there may not be with this kind of money being spent, but there is some good.
Matt, the air filter, there's a little building that...
The air house, yes.
Yes, has that been completed?
That's completed, filtered, done, ready to go. So yeah, we're just...
So we won't get the potential damage.
Right, we should protect that from the future, from the foreign object damage, and that's the reason we're going through all these
combustor baskets, because there was hairline fractures in those things that we didn't see, I mean, that they found, and they call them hula skirts. They're basically flaps that go around, and that kind of holds them into position in there. And on one of our baskets, it was missing, so it went through the turbine, you know. So you don't want to run one of those through a brand new turbine. So it just had to be done. And Dick can remember, you know, he was an operator. That I can't remember which burner it was, but always ran a little higher out there.
Number 5.
Yeah, and that's the fuel flow issue that Bryan was talking about. You know, the combustion baskets are flow checked, and then the nozzles. So we'll keep a balance on all the temperatures, because the machine will not operate at a high differential between baskets. It will trip offline if it gets too far. It looks at those temperatures, and they all have to be equal. So we should end up with an excellent running machine when we're done with this.
Because we always did the best we could.
Yeah, we always, you know,
We
actually
couldn't afford to have
Right.
engineers come in here
And you know, as we get too high, we would just back the output out,
Okay.
you know, so we could continue to run. So, you know, we lost a megawatt or two, you know, but, you know, just to keep it running. So we
That
did.
temperature in there is running 1,200 degrees.
Yeah, it's hot, so. And that's the thing, you know, this thermal case, you know, we talk about a case, but it's 30,000 pounds, one half of it. And it's built in the 60s, probably never been taken apart that we know of. And all of a sudden you take all these bolts out and you set it outside through the winter, and it just is distorted. And
Sure.
we're talking thousands, so it's unfortunate. I mean, Sulzer they tried to center that thing as best they can, because they didn't want to send that rotor back either. They wanted to make it run. And they got it centered really well, but the clearances were just too tight to safely say, yeah, go ahead and run it. So we would have been a possibility of a scrape.
And that's why when Matt says safely. So when Matt was off last week, Tim and I met via phone conference with several of the VPs at Sulzer, as well as the heads of the rotor department, the turbine blade department, the bearing department. I mean, there was quite a few people on the phone. And it sort of came down to at the very end, they want to do what's right for us, but their comment was, we can run it this way, you just have to tell us to do it. But that would not be a recommendation on our part, but if you all want to take it, we wouldn't be in the room when you do. So, I mean, it just tells us, the clearances are that close,
Sure.
and if something goes wrong,
Like Matt said, if you'd have a scrape or something,
you know, not on our
then all
watch.
this money that you
Right,
spent
I mean,
is
it's not
gone.
worth it.
Right.
Plus
So.
the extent of the damage beyond that.
Well, as Tim and I talked, we'll take our whipping right now for pricing, knowing that our machine's going to be safe for 20 years.
You know, I've always had the attitude all along that we were gonna do this right.
Yes.
There's no sense of stopping.
And that rotor is beautiful. I mean, I don't know if they made it out to the site, but they did it beautiful. The diaphragms, they're, you know, because all the compressor diaphragms have all new seals, they were just gone. And yeah, everything looks really, really nice.
And what a difference between Sulzer and the last
Oh,
group
yeah.
that was here. Oh my God. These guys are so professional, and I mean, you look at their tool trailer, Matt took me into their tool, he said, come here. I looked and I said, geez, I had the guys come over and do my garage.
Yeah.
These guys are, I mean, if you watch them work, they're just incredible. Smart guys.
Kind of hard to understand. They're from Louisiana.
Yeah, especially Buck.
But they're good work.
They probably say the same thing about it.
Yeah, sure.
Will you have any videos when it comes
What?
back on installation?
Well, I've talked to Eric. Eric's been doing the go cans, so
Oh, is he?
yeah. I'll
Okay,
see
so
what
we'll
he
get
comes
to
up
see
with, so,
something, and
Yep.
maybe the public can see it.
Yeah. we should
To
be able
get an
to-
idea of the immense size of this machine.
Right.
And you know, I always said, when you stay in this generation game, you know, the things at the plant are hundreds of dollars.
Yeah.
When something goes wrong or something breaks, it's thousands and thousands.
Well, I've done a lot of
It's
projects,
expensive.
and this stuff's even given me sticker shocks. So
Yeah.
I'll tell you, it's expensive, so.
But if you think about the money we're losing now on transmission costs or peak shaving,
Yeah.
you know, I'd like to see this thing get put back together as quick as we
Yeah,
can.
we miss it, there's no doubt.
Yeah.
The guys are anxious, they want to run, so.
Once a month, Sylvia hears me complain in my office about the transmission portion of the bill.
Yeah.
It's, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Drives me nuts.
And like you say, we're gonna recoup our money,
Yeah.
you know, it might take us 3 to 4 years to get this money back, but this is gonna pay for itself. And then from then on,
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there were some really good
Well,
people
that's why I
prior
said
to
the
you guys
last
that did this.
25, 30 years.
Yeah.
You amortize it, boy, it's not a big deal. Well, it's still a big deal, but I mean,
Yeah.
you're looking at spreading it out.
and Tim, you did a fantastic job. I want to publicly acknowledge you did a fantastic job of stepping up and taking over. I was impressed. Thank you.
The whole team over there has been pretty amazing.
Yeah.
They're doing good stuff.
Any other questions or comments before we move on? And number 6, a resolution to authorize change order number 2 for the project known as GT2 rotor inspection and repair.
Okay, this would be a resolution authorizing the Director of Utilities to accept change order number 2 for the GT2 rotor inspection and repair with Sulzer Turbo Services Houston Incorporated and declaring an emergency. And I do want to point out we are declaring an emergency, so this takes effect right away. This would be resolution number 29. Again, based on our last conversation, the resolution will reflect an additional expense or increase in the contract of $296,410. Bring the total contract price to $1,821,435. I feel that all items have been thoroughly discussed on this increase. And if we haven't, let's talk more about it right now before we push this through, or ask to have it moved through. As I stated before, I believe even with the increase in repair costs, we should realize a payback in about a 5-year period based on, and I was really conservative when I said $500,000. We are seeing normally around 6, but I'll stay conservative, and if we get ahead of the game, I'm happy. Again, I wanted to point out that the resolution would pass as an emergency. I was hoping to hit the late summer generation runs. I just want to put back together because we've been hitting some wintertime peaks that have been pretty nasty, and we need this in place. The other thing I do want to point out in this change order this change order request on this resolution, that I also moved out the completion date contractually. It was to be this month roughly. I asked that we move that out to September 30th, so that gives the Sulzer team a couple weeks down there getting what they got to get done, bring it back home here, and hopefully within a 3-week window have it put back together so we have a week of testing and it can be released to us. I would hope to not have to come back for an extension on that as another change order. Knock on wood, I'm going to push, and Matt's doing his best to come back with change order number 3, which would be a deduct.
There you go.
That's our goal. Is it going to happen? I don't know, but we are, these two guys are on top of everything. I mean, Tim was showing me where he's trying to get some cost savings, so they're on top of it. We're going to get there. I would respectfully request that you guys approve this.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept resolution 29, the change order.
Second.
Get this put back together.
Dick?
Yes.
Al?
Yes.
Bonnie?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Number 7 then, it's time to pay the bills.
I'll make a motion we pay the bills.
I second.
Jim?
Yes.
Al?
Yes.
Bonnie?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
I had to drink of water.
Don't choke. Number 8 then is comments from BPA and staff. Director?
A couple things. We'll go with something that's positive for a minute. July solar production numbers for the month, 315,487 kilowatt hours. Actually exceeded our Rudolph Libby projections of 278,000. That's sort of our baseline numbers we project out. Brings our year total, so from beginning of year to now, 1,633,300. The hydro plant, our little gym down there on the Allglaze River, month generation was 1,337,246 kilowatt hours. Year to date, 7,678,613. Matt's still keeping that place just a chugging along and doing us some good things. The other thing, just want to remind everybody about the OMEA AMP conference. I would suspect, just for some of the literature coming out, that they will have a session on the federal EPA climate change plan. If you've been following the news, it's a very, very, very hot topic. You'll probably hear information that's called 111D, and some of the changes at the 9th hour by our president have increased the standards significantly. It's going to put the pinch on the power industry. That be announced as well. So I think what you're going to see is a lot of litigation going on to see how this thing plays out over the next year or two. But I would say educate yourself the best you can, read everything on it, get into tune, because it will affect how we do business here. Okay. Other than that, again, I want to thank Matt, Tim, all the guys over there, just keeping us going on this project. It's a lot of information, a lot of work, and a lot of responsibility, and they have managed the project in whole. I must say, lucky enough, I want to use that word loosely, to help step in this last week and help these guys, but they have taken the bull by the horns. So.
Mayor?
Not too much. As you know, tonight you did pass the change order for Industrial Park North, and that's, I understand that's all ready to go. I think there was some hydrants they had to rechange.
Already done.
Already done, so water tested, and that's done. And then North Allen Street project, they approved that as you did tonight. The only thing left on that, which is our responsibility, are trees to be planted, but they plant those in the fall on our ending month, so to speak. That's when you plant trees in the fall. So once the trees are in, that's a nice looking street if you drive down through there. And I think the four-way stop has to be put in there, the stop sign, it's ready to go. So it looks very nice. So other than that, I think that's it.
Great. Lori?
No, ma'am.
Anyone out there? Al?
Yeah, I want to bring your attention, I don't know how many people read, but I've got this book here, and on page 5, this Sue Kelly has a very good letter, and I didn't realize till I read this that we got 1 in 7 public power. There's only about 2,000 public. A lot of them are controlled commercially, and we run cheaper. And I got to thinking, I remember when I moved to town here, I was young at that time, didn't know what was going on, but I remember there was a big battle in this town about selling the power plant. And I think it was voted on not to sell it, and I think it's the greatest thing, because you're paying a lot more with Toledo Edison compared, and everybody in Toledo Edison wants to be Bryan. And we're not really pushing how good we are. And it's a good thing. And this book has a lot of good information in it. And I suggest that you read it. And I think I got a lot of value by going to Columbus. I've always gone to Cleveland or Columbus at meetings, and it's worth your time. Then I'm digesting this. I haven't got done with this. This is exactly what I was talking about the last meeting, and this is a coming thing. I don't know how it's going to come out, but whether the Congress and things. I know we got an environment problem, but I don't know how it's going to work out, because you just can't shut coal down. You're going to cause an economic situation. But there again, this country is not the only one creating the problem. China and India is way ahead of us. And that's why I think you people should keep on top of reading this and talking about people when they say derogatory things about us. Because people do. They don't realize what we got. That's all I got to say.
Thanks, Al. Okay.
Life's good here.
Karen?
Well, I wanted just to comment on what's been in the newspaper about how Bryan succeeded in another high-ranking report at the safety level, and congratulations to the city of Bryan and all its residents for making that achievement.
As I told the council last night, we're happy to get that, but that's a reflection of our workers and the people that work for us on both sides of the city, and the residents.
Well, there's an example of those two men right there.
Absolutely. absolutely. It's not, you're happy to get that, and then the next day or two, something happens right in your parking lot, and people wonder, well, how you number it. So you never can win, but we were happy to get that, but that's not us, that's the people in town and our workers that make this happen.
That's why I said congratulations to the whole city.
Thank you.
It's all,
Yeah.
Thank you.
everyone.
I don't know what I could say, it hasn't already been said. That's, yeah.
You'll think of something,
No,
yeah.
no, I don't think that's that.
Well, I just had one question. I noticed the same periodical here that Al had. When it has us listed, we are not listed as an RP3, Reliable Public Power Provider, and I thought we were under that designation.
We have not applied for the designation for the last 3 years. When we had our
Oh,
changes
okay.
with superintendent and managerial staff,
Okay.
those deadlines were at that time. Now, I'll tell you right now, today, the staff is in the process of doing the application, and it's all online right now. So it's a full submittal of work processes. I mean, there's a lot of information there. So we are going for it next year. I actually felt bad. Al came in and talked to me this afternoon. He said, "Hey, did you read the article on this?" And I said, "Yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about." I said, "I've been so buried in this other stuff." So,
It just came out.
Yeah,
in
we
fact,
just got
I
this.
broke the seal on it just so I could look at it real quick to see what was going on. But yeah, we are not an RP3 community today. We were in the past. We will be.
Well, there's a lot of good information in here, a lot.
Yeah.
Oh,
And for
this
the-
one too.
And for the public.
And in the public power, the
can I steal
yellow
your
one,
book?
there's a
This
real
one or that?
Yeah,
interesting.
but, so what we're talking about for the public is actually American Public Powers. This is your directory and statistical report of all the municipalities that are APPA members throughout the country, okay? And then with that, because we are part of APPA, we get the public power, I believe it's a monthly publication, and the person that Al has mentioned in this article is Sue Kelly. She's the CEO and president of APPA, so it's a good article.
I know.
Well, we met her last
Yeah.
year, remember, we met her, and we
Yep.
were talking to her.
We ate lunch with her.
Very sharp lady.
Yes,
Yeah.
Very sharp.
so.
Interesting article in there about the community solar.
There's several. I was really surprised, yeah.
Interesting.
Very interesting stuff. So. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn if there's nothing else.
So moved.
Second.
Dick,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
Bonnie,
Yes.
Jim,
Yeah.
Al.
Yes.